as long as it's forward. God, send me anywhere, only go with me. Lay any burden on me, only sustain me. And sever any tie in my heart except the tie that binds my heart to yours. If you have men who will only come if they know there is a good road, I don't want them. I want men who will come if there is no road at all. I will go anywhere provided it be forward. David Livingstone.
Okay. So thank you so much, Anna, for giving us that opening at Still and Moving Center's Gems from the Wisdom Traditions, a conversation circle that we sponsor every Saturday. This year, in the year of Eyes to the Stars. Yeah. Irreversibility, eyes to the stars. And in this particular week, the topic that we are coming to is the eye itself. And interestingly enough, as I think we will hear from our presenter, the topic is the eye rather than the eyes. So I think that will be interesting to consider. Our presenter today is Renée Gracia, who joined Still and Moving Center a little over a year ago, I think, and has graduated from the Academy of Mindful Movement, becoming one of our yoga teachers, something that she actually has been doing, teaching yoga for a number of years now. So we're very honored to have her as a regular teacher in that capacity at Still and Moving Center, as well as a speaker today. She's been a student of the ancient yogic text provided by Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, as they're called. And so I think she may be drawing from that a bit as she launches us on our conversation today of the eye. So Sharani, I hand it to you.
Thank you, Renee, for the introduction. So happy to be here. So today the topic is the eye, and I'll be speaking from the yoga tradition, specifically from the chakra and the third eye. And I'm going to share a presentation I created. I just realized that I misspelled the word chakras, that I was typing really fast, so I spell it chakras. So apologies for that in advance. So let me share my screen. I was trying to fix it, but didn't have time. Okay. Do you see my screen now? Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah, the eye from the yoga tradition, chakras, and the third eye, means of higher spirituality and consciousness. Okay, so the eye and yoga. In yoga, the eye, particularly the concept of the third eye, is much more than a physical organ. It symbolizes intuition, insight, and higher consciousness. It is used to feel and experience people or things around you. So the eye in yogi texts and philosophy, especially the Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita, is often referenced as a metaphor for knowledge and perception. In the yogic philosophy, there is a distinction between our inner and outer vision. So as yogi strive to cultivate the inner vision, to see beyond the illusions of this physical world and understand the true nature of reality. So here we have some like a couple of pictures of how the yoga tradition sees this eye. Okay. So to understand this idea, let me go back. Yeah, so to understand this idea of the eye in the yoga tradition, I wanted to take a close look at the chakras. So what is a chakras? So chakras are described as getaway of consciousness. In other words, they are channels through which one higher self or soul can connect to a divine source or our universal consciousness or call, or like that higher divine energy. The earliest known written records of the chakras is found in Hindu scriptures around the 6th century before Christ. And the concept of the third eye originates for this Sanatan Dharma, where Shiva is given a third eye symbolizing wisdom. Chakras are energetic pathway of cosmic energies, and the word chakra literally means wheel of light. And we have 7 major chakras located along the spine in the body. You can see it in these pictures. And starting from the bottom up, we have the root chakra, which is represented with the color red, which is called in the Sanskrit word Muladhara. And then up on our pelvis area, we kind of see our sacral chakra represented with the color orange. It's called Swadhisthana. Excuse my Sanskrit. And then more on the abdomen area, we have the solar plexus chakra called Manipura. And in the heart area, we have the heart chakra, which is called Anahata. It's represented with the color green. Then on the throat chakra, we have Vishuddha, represented with the color blue. And here on our forehead, we have a third eye chakra called Ajna, and it's represented with the color purple or indigo. And at the crown of the head, the top of the head, we have the crown chakra called Sahasrara. And today we're going to be focusing on the third eye chakra. We can go in depth in all of them, but it's really deep, but our focus is the third eye chakra. The location of, so this eye, again, is not like a literal eye, but more like a spiritual. It's an invisible eye used to perceive sounds, people, and things all around us. It is says that this chakra, this third eye chakra, kind of like governs our ability to perceive, to understand, to connect again, like I said at the beginning, with our inner self and the universe. In the Vedic text, the third eye chakra is said to lead to inner realms and higher consciousness. The third eye chakra, again, is located between the eyebrows and is associated with the color purple or indigo. And the element of it is the light. And while we have 2 physical eyes in the body, the third eye chakra is considered the eye of the mind, because it's often associated with this kind of like higher consciousness and inner realms, and is also associated with our pineal gland located in the center of the brain. The philosopher Descartes called it the seed of the soul, thinking that it connects the physical and the spiritual worlds together. And this idea of connecting to light and deeper insights made people call it the third eye. There's some practices to stimulate the third eye, to activate it, like we say in the yoga practice, to have a balanced third eye chakra. One of these yogi techniques could be meditation and visualization. Regular meditation focusing on the space between the eyebrows, visualizing this radiant light, can help to open that third eye. And when we mean open, it's kind of like make us connect more with our intuition, the way we perceive things. Another yogi technique is pranayama. It's breathing exercises. Techniques like the Nadi Sodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. Inhaling through your right nostril, and then exhaling through the left, and then exchanging. Or Ujjayi breath, pranayama. It helps balance the energy flow in the body, especially in the head region. Yoga asanas are postures when you go to a yoga class, like inversions, like headstand, or plow pose, or halasana. These are poses that are believed to increase the blood flow in the head. Most of these poses are done in inversion way, and they stimulate all that flow happening in the head and stimulate the pineal gland. And the last technique in the yoga tradition we use to stimulate this third eye is our mudras. Mudras are hand gestures that we do. You may see a lot of pictures of the Buddha doing this or people doing this. Those are mudras. And a specific hand gestures like the Jia mudra, which is in a specific mudra that happened here, like the lotus mudra, even though it's connected to the crown of the head, can be used to focus the mind and enhance intuition. And something as simple as this will help. Yeah. Oh, that is pictures with the different techniques. And then the benefits of a balanced third eye, it's associated with many things. It will, like I said earlier, it will enhance your intuition. So you will develop a stronger sense of inner knowing and what we call like trusting your gut feelings. It will improve your concentrations, right, by sharpening your focus and your mental clarity. Your spiritual growth. It will deepen your connection to yourself and the universe or God or that divine self. And it would also benefit your creativity and your imagination. Right? When we take the time to visualize and really sit down and focus, we can unleash our creative potential and our problem solving abilities. And the last benefit, I think, is wisdom and insight. We, by sitting in this place where we're looking inwards, we gain this deeper understanding and discernment. So conclusion, we all know our eyes have their limitations. I can see a person, but now what the person is thinking or what the person is truly feeling, I can guess, but I don't know certainly. So the third eye could be a meaningful way to, for instance, to make us see inside things a little deeper and inside others, right? Like their intentions and their feelings and their vibes. The third eye, again, is considered the chakra of inner vision and enlightenment, representing deeper visions beyond our physical side and this material world. So it symbolizes our ability to see beyond those limitations, to perceive inner truth. Like Sir Ramakrishna said, God cannot be seen with these physical eyes. In the course of a spiritual discipline, one gets a love body, with love ears and love eyes, and so on. One sees God with those love eyes. One hears the voice of God with those love ears. With this love body, the soul communes with God. The third eye is only a symbol of a whole set of, like, what's the word? Extra sensory faculties that we have, which come to a person to the grace of God. So God's unconditional love and the sense that God sets no conditions to make our divine gifts available. So they're always available. So this inner perception and this inner vision it's always there. We can always gain it. It's just not has materials as the eyes and the other parts around us. So by sitting in deeply contemplation, we can get in touch with this. And that's the quote, and that's it. I'm just wondering, what are your ideas or your thoughts on this? How do you see this concept of the eye in your perspective? Maybe a different religion or practice. That's kind of like how I approach and I think about it from the third eye perspective. My inner vision, my inner perception. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Renée. I love this quote. God cannot be seen with these physical eyes. In the course of spiritual discipline, one gets a love body endowed with love eyes, love ears, and so on. One sees God with those love eyes. One hears the voice of God with those love ears. With this love body, the soul communes with God. Sri Ramakrishna. Oh, so beautiful. I'm so glad to have that that perspective. I wanted to start with a question. Oh, nice to have Adele and Kai here, by the way, as well as Sharon. What does it mean to have a balanced spiritual eye or third eye? What does that mean to have it balanced? And that's kind of a question. I know we don't want to put anybody on the hot spot. If Sharani wants to start, or anyone else, but I took that phrase from your presentation and started wondering what that would mean, because it seems like, oh well, having an open third eye seems great. What is there about balance? Yeah.
For me, I loved your talk. It was very clear and precise. It fit with what I believe in. And that was a quote that I really loved too, Renee, that I thought this idea of love eyes and love ears. And for me, the third eye symbolizes, and I've talked about this before, but there is a soul the balance for me is understanding a soul perspective and connection with divine wisdom and divine love. And we are on earth. And so the third dimensional part is what we have to work with in this earth plane. But there is something about using the soul perspective, which for me, the third eye represents. It represents that connection to divine. It represents connection to seeing with maybe as an objective witness instead of always from the ego. It means to be able to hear people, even if we don't agree with them, but to see that they have a good heart or a loving heart. And especially these days, I think it's really important that we use the third eye to go beyond our ego responses and our ego way of being in the world so that we can have an open heart. And if we keep in tune with the third eye through meditation, yoga, whatever we do, it helps us to be able to listen deeper to what we need to cause and create, but also to be able to see the world in not such black and white terms, and to be able to hold them with a loving eye, a loving ear, a loving hearing. So for me, the balance is working with both of those so that we can be in the world, but not of it, or we can be in the world, but also understand there's greater guidance and wisdom that we don't understand. So that's, to me, the deep listening I feel we need to do to be able to stay with that balance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful, Diana. Other thoughts people have on this idea of balance and the third eye or the invisible eye, or any other way of looking at our eyes? It sounds a little bit to me, Diana, as if you were talking about the balance of the physical eyes that do need to look at all the things of the physical world, take those in, process those, and not be so overwhelmed by what we see with our physical eyes that we can't touch into something higher and more numinal, shall we say, more noetic, that helps us see more to the heart of things than just on the surface that our physical eyes see. We're open to perspectives, whether or not you turn your screen on. We'd still love to hear your voice. We can imagine you with our third eye.
Thank you, Sharone. That was a really nice, like thought-provoking presentation. And I love how you made the differentiation between kind of like inner focus and outer focus. And it made me think about one of my favorite courses that I took in college, and it was physics of the visual arts. And in that class, we learned all about like the physics of seeing, and a lot of really cool stuff. But I think that was one of the places where I started to note the difference between seeing and perceiving. And so I wonder if maybe you all would agree, or what your thoughts are on the eyes seeing, the third eye perceiving. That is just kind of something that I'm thinking about as I listen in. And what are your thoughts on seeing versus perceiving? But Renee, that's a great question about balance. I have a book on chakra, so when I am getting to my home, then I'm gonna look into kind of the balance and kind of what that means. So thank you, Sharone.
Thank you, Anna, for your thought. That's actually a super interesting question, because a lot of the times I think, as yogis and people that think about this like a spiritual invisible third eye is not something that we can see, but I think the special thing about that eye, the eye, is that you can do both. It's helpful to perceive, but when we close our eyes and we start visualizing, we're seeing in a way, we're envisioning something. Um, so I think that's the magic of our third eye. It kind of does what these two eyes can do, but instead of looking at the physical world around us, it kind of looks at the one that's inward, right? So it's a different kind of vision. It's a different kind of seeing, but it's still seeing something. So you can do both, I think. Yeah. Anybody else have other ideas on that question? But thank you. Yeah.
I guess part of the question about balance and inner vision comes from every once in a while, somebody will say something like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Or sometimes we feel as if somebody is kind of like trying to bore into our souls, you know. And I heard once this phrase of spiritual etiquette. And it had something, I think, to do with the idea that somebody who was really opening the third eye in a compassionate way was not going to be looking in a way to see other people's secrets, to read their minds and try to figure things out. And in a way, I think that the way modern psychology studies people and tries to look at what motivates, what drives their egos, they're trying to kind of see how they can manipulate people by understanding the kind of these lower forces and drives within the human being. So to me, that would not be a very balanced use of this insight about maybe the lower aspect of human beings. And the more the spiritual etiquette would be, even if one does have the ability to see what's going on with somebody and say, yeah, that's probably not the highest motive. Yet they're not like trying to peer into somebody to kind of figure out how to take them down or use them in any way. It's more a matter of looking to see what is the highest and what is the best in somebody else. That would be a really balanced and beneficial way of looking into the invisible, and something that somebody who felt our gaze upon them and only felt like love coming out of us, that they would appreciate that. They wouldn't feel kind of like wanting to put up a shield. A friend of ours from a long, long time ago made a statement that it's always stuck with me along these lines, I think. We're not here to see through people. We're here to see people through. I'm going to say that again. We're not here to see through people. We're here to see people through. So maybe that's kind of one of the questions of balance that I was wondering about, is using that intuition, but in a beneficial way.
What comes to me when you say that is it's not invasive and it comes from a loving heart. I think the third eye is not judgmental. I think there's discerning wisdom, so you can tell one thing from another, but it's not judgmental. And I think it's not manipulative. It's loving. And when people feel seen, some people are, when we look at them, they may never have been seen before. It's almost like you're listening and you're seeing them, and that can be overwhelming. And yet it's not coming. I think you hit it. When it's trying to be manipulative or get into their brains is different than, I love that. People, you're not trying to see through people, but to see through people through, because it is about being loving and caring and being with them versus trying to invade them and change them.
Thank you. Other questions or comments that come up about this idea of seeing in the eye, and meaning the invisible or spiritual eye, as well as our physical eyes?
Oh, so I was started to do this like manifestation class, and it was interesting because when you're talking, it reminded me what the person said in the class was, in manifestation, 80% is what you think, and 20% is what you do. But and it made me think about how, with the physical eye and the physical, it's like we're always doing, um, that doing versus being sort of thing. And that's reminds me of what you're talking about with balance, where I know I have a tendency to think like I have to do everything, and I forget to just follow sort of like guides. And sometimes I feel like I self-sabotage myself in terms of, I think, perceiving with the other way, when you're perceiving with the third eye, or letting things happen, that maybe things can happen with more ease and balance, then I feel like the world around us always tells us, like, you have to make a checklist, you have to check everything off, you have to check the box, and get it all done in a certain amount of time, and we're all like running around trying to do that. And so that's that concept of balance that you're talking about, and living by the third eye kind of reminds me of that, of, yeah. Oops, I lost myself.
We can't hear you, Renee.
I muted Adele. Now can you hear me? Yeah. So I think what I heard from Adele was this idea of more being, less doing. And that when we're living from more of that higher perspective, that would come with the activation of the third eye, that it would be possible for us to be less concerned and worried about the checkoff lists in the world that that we feel compelled to have to complete in order for things to happen. And it kind of raises for me, because she said she was taking a class on manifestation. It does raise for me the idea of creativity and the physical eye's creativity and the third eye. And I wonder whether that, I'm just leaving that as a very open concept right now, but I wonder if anything about that occurred to you as you were considering the topic, Sharone. You mentioned creativity in your topic several times.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question is, but what's coming to my mind is a result of opening this third eye, like a benefit. It's this manifestation, right? You start seeing with your inner eye and kind of executing and with these eyes and getting things done. So of course, as a result of manifesting, you're becoming a creator in whatever, you know, whatever thing you're manifesting. Yeah, but yeah, not sure what exactly the question is. Yeah. But I was also thinking unrelated to that, you know, the topic is the eye, and I present it for the third eye, but I also think of the third eye. I don't really like symbolism, right? And when we think of a third eye, we imagine this eye here, especially for all this art and, you know, the Hindu, the dot and things like that. But I also like to think about this eye, this inner vision has intuition, you know, something is not necessarily a symbol here on my forehead or like a point in my brain. I like to think of it as, you know, what we sometimes call too the sixth sense. We have that sixth sense. So I think that goes for like creation, right? Like our creativity could come for that intuition, for that inspiration, for that sixth sense, not necessarily I don't know if that makes sense, or for like I see you Diana saying yes, so I'm kind of interested of what came to mind or what are you thinking in respect of that.
Yeah, I think that is where creativity comes from. You know, I think that if we open up to listening and we can get creativity from seeing things, but also just the inspiration or the motivation many times comes from the inner knowing or the inner calling, or I just feel like I have to paint something, or I need to do this. And so it's really listening to those callings for creativity.
I think there are creative forces in the world that are it's strange to say, but also very destructive. I mean, creating weapons, like how is what is that about? And so I really, really love this whole idea that you brought up and reinforced at the end with that quote, Sharone, about getting through spiritual discipline, a love body endowed with love eyes. And that is truly the source then of the kind of creativity that can be a benefit to the whole, right? That it's going to add to and not take from the good of humanity and all life.
Yeah, as I was doing, you know, going to the presentation and thinking about the talk, I tried to focus as much as I could in the light, because there is a reality to this third eye of this higher realm, right? That's going inwards and connecting with this divine and the universe and the cosmic energy. There is a reality to it. There is a darkness to it, like anything in life. Think of anything right now, there's the opposite. So it's the same with this third eye. I think it could be extremely beneficial. It could be of good and light, but I think there is also an aspect of it that can be very destroying. And, you know, like anything, if you take it too far, or if you take it to in another direction, it can lead to not good results. So yes, I agree with what you're saying, Renee.
Yeah, when I just like open one of the channels available on TV and see all the different movies that are possible, so many of the times I'm going, oh gosh, I just can't believe the number of horror films, vampire films, and gruesome, dark, violent films. It's like, oh, what a way to use our creativity. And so it really is so important, because it can be misused, to use this creative force of ours, it seems like, for the benefit of light to come shining through. And so I guess that was really the source of my question about balance. Yeah, what do we do so that use of the eye is going to be, of the third eye in particular, is going to be beneficent?
Well, I think if we do meditation and prayer and really touch into the divine force, to me, I think anything can have anything has a negative and a positive, the yin yang. But I think in terms of connecting with divine love and divine will, if we're really listening to God, that if it comes that we're supposed to build a bomb, that's not coming from divine love, or that we're hurting someone else. It feels like that is coming from a different realm, or not a different area than is really when you touch into God and divine love. It, to me, when we're listening to that, it isn't destructive. That I think anything can be taken that way to extremes, like you said. But I also feel like if we really are practicing living love and living light, then you're not going to be led into the other stuff. I think we may have to be aware of it, but I really think that if we meditate and pray and ask for guidance, you can feel the difference in your body. If you're being asked to do something that's hurtful, that's not divine love, you know. So it's like, if we're taking Jesus as an example, he lived divine love with everybody, you know, and even though he was hurt and scorned, he didn't do that. So it's like, if that is the example of if it's like really listening, then we're not doing it for the ego's sake, and we're not doing it for power, and we're not doing it for greed or an anger. We're doing it out of love. I think we have to be aware of it, but to me, I don't see that connection. If we're aware and that's our intention is love, then I don't think we have to be concerned that we're going to be destructive. And yet people are destructive. But I think that's, for me, is the regular eyes of destructive people aren't touching into divine love, because I don't see how they could, in my thought.
And yet some people are striving for powers, and those invisible powers. And so I think what you're saying is that the protection there is always giving your efforts upward, seeking guidance from above, something larger, bigger, more loving than oneself. And then that in itself does perform a great act of protection for all of our efforts.
Mary, I'm curious how you feel about this.
Well, I apologize because I came in late, and Sharoni, I missed your whole presentation. So I was kind of listening to see what how the conversation was going. And the first thing that came to my mind after listening to people was that we were given two eyes, two ears, and one mouth. So we're to observe, we're to listen, and not talk so much. But then I also was thinking of different olelo no eao in the Hawaiian tradition, where it talks about the eyes follow the hands in hula. And then there's also this one I looked up, and it says Pe'a Pe'a Makavalu, which means the eight-eyed Pe'a Pe'a. And I was thinking, okay, what's eight-eyed in the Hawaiian animal kingdom? And I think that's either a spider or a bat, but Pe'a Pe'a is a bat, so that's not quite it. But what it is one who is wide awake and very observant. So one who is skilled. So I think whatever we see with our eyes will help us to be more observant and to be more knowledgeable. And then when we're talking about the love and how we see and how we decide what we're going to do, and yes, we're surrounded by so many contrary opinions towards love. And my sister, she shared with me that she, you know, with these elections, with what's the wars that are happening throughout the world, we only hear about Ukraine and Israel, but we don't hear about all the terrible, terrible things that are happening in Africa, in Myanmar. It's worldwide. And so she was, kind of meditating and asking the Lord, what should she do? What should she do? And the thought that came to her, what the Lord put in her heart, was, what kind of fruit does it produce? So if actions are going to produce love, then that is what we want to strive for. If actions produce hurt or harm, whether it's to people, to animals, to the earth, then that's not something that we want to to follow. So thank you. Amen.
Amen. I love that, Mary. I think that just concludes everything for me. Like whatever I think of and I ponder and I think of, I think the ultimate question is it going to produce love? If not, why am I looking into it when I'm practicing this? So yeah, thank you for that. That's the ultimate question.
I'm sorry I'm not needing to go. I love you all and wish you a good week. And thank you so much. I love the talk and I apologize for leaving early. Bye-bye.
So glad you came.
Thank you, Diana.
Yeah, that's really a question. Will it produce love? And if whatever it is that we're contemplating, developing our third eye or our two eyes or whatever it is, that's the big question. In the end, will it produce love?
And I think this third eye, it will, right? If you focus on the right thing, if your focus, your contemplation is towards the light, it could be beneficial, right? I don't think looking inwards and trying to find that connection, right? In the Christian tradition is through prayer, but through the yoga tradition is to meditate, is to closing your eyes, is to trying, to really leave your mind empty, to allow that God's response. So I think as long as we're focusing on the light, which is the element of the third eye, I think it will produce love.
Yeah. What's your understanding of the drishti in yoga? for those maybe who are or are not aware of the drishti, can you talk about that and how that might apply to this topic of the eye?
Yeah. So what's interesting too is like on yoga, in yoga asana is like the poses that we do. The drishti is something that we do with our physical eyes. We actually, our drishti is our point of focus, is what we're looking at. And we always want to try to look at something that's still, because things that move can throw us out of balance. So when we're in a yoga class and we are cueing the different part of the bodies, one of the most important thing is to cue your drishti. Where are you looking at? What is your point of focus? And then there is the other drishti, which happens in meditation, which is our inner eyes. Is you sit in a stillness and you close your eyes and you try to find your focus through that inner state. So yeah, that's the drishti.
And do you think that that ability to concentrate on a drishti, like externally with the physical eyes, has an effect on what happens with the third eye?
Oh yeah, I I think so. I think they're both correlate. I think our ability to sit in stillness and see with that in our eyes can help us with what's happening around us, and our ability to be able to be in this realm and this physical world and find our focus will definitely bring like inner balance for sure. Yeah. I'm also curious too of like maybe like Mary, is there a mention, I know you said quote, but is there a mention of the eye in the Bible, in any passage, like how does the Christian Catholic tradition Christian looks at the eye? I'm just wondering like
I haven't really I don't remember anything specific. I know that there was the um teaching that if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out.
okay.
So, but I know there was this um quote in for Monday. It says, "If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." I don't know where that came from. I haven't. That's the first time I'm being acquainted with that. So yeah, that's something I would check and follow up on. But
I believe it's from the Gospel according to Thomas, which were from the Nadi scrolls, Dead Sea Scrolls that were discovered in the, I think, 1940s, that many scholars have felt really are a legitimate part of the original biblical texts.
yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing it. So yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it's from.
Yeah,
And
so it won't be in the Bible per se. So if and they acknowledge there's other texts that refer to the life of Jesus and to his teachings. So yeah.
yeah, and the Bible was, the passages were chosen over the course of time, what would make it in and what didn't make it in. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure it is from that, and that was the quote that I was going to bring up to Sharoni, just to consider, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. What does that possibly mean?
I don't know, but it makes me when I hear like if the eye be single, for some reason it just made me think of the present moment and being here there's nothing that brings more light into the world than being here right now. Not thinking of the future, of the past, not creating anything other than being here. Yeah. And yeah, that's what it makes me think of.
If thine eye be single, it kind of means maybe going from these physical eyes that are always seeing the changes and the passage of time and how everything is on the surface, to going to the single spiritual eye. And then that being here now is in the eternal now. Right? It's kind of like we've entered, I think, a state of timelessness. And that's certainly a place of light.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I like that thought. Connecting it kind of to the drishti, I think that's something when I started doing yoga was really profound to me. Just being able to focus on one point, even while there's things moving in the background or you have a class going on. Just that single line of focus and holding a pose, and even though it's hard, you're looking, and I think that also connects to maybe the third eye in the sense that you know what you're focused on, and if you're manifesting or if you're working towards something, you know you're going to get there, and so then it's just kind of trusting and being on that single path, and so then that's what makes maybe the body whole, in the sense that your vision is on one and you're kind of just going and trusting. But yeah, I love the conversation. Very eye-opening.
Isn't that interesting how we say that? And we don't say it's very eyes opening. We say it's very eye opening. Yeah, having to do with the understanding and that you were pointing to earlier, Sharani. Yeah. Cool point. Sharon, do you have anything you'd like to share with us today?
I was just wondering about the colors. That's all. I was, I guess, on a different zone with you guys, but she mentioned colors in different chakra areas. And so my question was that, does the colors have anything to do with stones and the colors of stones?
Stones?
Yeah, like different stones, like quartz, rose quartz. And so I didn't know if the colors that represent in each chakra represent some stone, and if it does, which stones were they?
So, the colors of the chakras, I believe, I'm not certain on this, but I think I read somewhere that they have that color because of the frequency, right? They're associated with the different frequencies that they go from the lowest one to the higher one. And when you put those frequencies, get that color. And yes, there is lots of stones in the world, and it is said that depending on the color and where that stone comes from, it could kind of like affect or be related to that chakra. Yeah, to like rose quartz, and there's so many stones I can't even remember now. I'm sure you probably know, Renee. The turquoise is really good for like your throat chakra. So based on the colors of those stones, yeah, it relates to the chakra, but I'm not sure about the stones. I haven't looked into that, but yeah, the amethyst, which is very popular, is known for being very good for like your crown chakra and your third eye chakra. So yes, Sharon.
I guess Yeah, since you mentioned me, Sharani, I think the most interesting thing that I've heard about it is that, yes, there are correlations and they could be put to not such great purposes. So, sometimes wise beings throw veils over things and they let ideas go out that don't necessarily represent the way things actually are. So what's out there in the popular world about what color and what stone goes with what chakra, I guess even if we did have this very complete chart about it, I would still kind of hold it very loosely because from a more hidden perspective, there might be a different teaching about it. And so just hold it loosely. If you find that amethyst makes you feel better, use amethyst, right? Without having to have, like this deep understanding of which chakra it could be activating at a certain time.
I asked because I had a student in the psychiatric ward at Queens, and when he was in my classroom, it was fine, and so I was surprised he was put in there twice, and so I didn't know when I went to visit him what to do, and so I gave him some different colored stones, and I wasn't sure what they all represent, but I explained to him that if he needed anything, I gave him a piece of paper on it. He needed anything to look at the stone, and maybe that could help him. Well, I don't know if that helped him or not, but he eventually came out and he became a regular student at Midpack. And then his foster people, because he was the ward of the state, they invited me to come watch him in this play. And I was so impressed. But they were very happy because sometimes people need some kind of hope or something to hold on to in their hand, and it has to be solid. And it's difficult to meditatively hold it in your brain. And I think it's difficult for people to do that. And he was just a teenager. And so I thought that that may help him. And I said that, but don't eat it. I said, what do you mean don't eat it? But I said that you could use it and maybe these stones can help you. I believe sometimes people need solid things, like in the Catholic religion, they have the rosary, and even in Orthodox Christians, they have some kind of thing that looks like a rosary. And even the Buddhists have a little bead thing. And I think that something solid that you can hold on to sometimes help us guide us. Our minds sometimes cannot grasp onto something um, like choosing a chakra or what can help us in that realm. I think it's very difficult, especially when you're young. So I don't want to hoo-hoo it, but I feel like I hopefully felt it helped him, and I felt his foster people felt so too when they invited me to watch him, when he had come out and he was in this play.
Thank you, Sharon, for sharing that. I know it's time to say goodbye, but thank you so much for sharing that, because something I've been thinking to a lot when I think of anything, when I believe on anything, is like, regardless of how effective I think it is, of the evidence on it, I think I always think like placebo effect is such a powerful thing. And if you believe it works for you and for that kid, or it's gonna work, right? Because of there is like that element of placebo effect. And when I was like looking into and the psychological impact that it has in it, when I was like researching this whole thing about the eye, and I love reading about it, I ran into Joe Dispenza. He's like a big scientist. He's big into kind of like integrating science with this spiritual realm, trying to make it all make sense. And he talked a lot about what you just said. And he calls it placebo effect. It could be called something else, but I agree with you that we sometimes need that hope, regardless if we know it works or not, and we have evidence, we sometimes need that hope. And I think of this third eye as that, like it could be my hope. So thank you for sharing that. That was super cool and interesting to hear.
Yeah, it sounds to me like a true act of intuition on your part, Sharon, and that you didn't try to say to him, now, if you pick up this stone, it's going to correspond to this chakra, and this stone is going to correspond to this one. You didn't do that. You just gave him this beautiful array of stones and invited him to find out whether anything might work for him. So to me, yeah, you probably had a very open third eye in bestowing that gift upon him. That would, I don't really know, but it sounds like a very intuitive gift that you made. And even not knowing yourself what those correspondences might be, just leaving it open. I want to thank Sharonee so much for stimulating a really enlightening, eye-opening conversation amongst all of us. And look forward to hearing from her again in the future. It seems as though all of her presentations have that effect upon our group. And I also want to let everyone know that for this coming week, we're going to be looking at what is being called the paramita, or the virtue of patience. In the Buddhist tradition, it's called Shanti, also known as peace. And we're going to look at it with Kumu Malia Helela from the, who's going to be speaking on the Hawaiian tradition of Aho Nui, I believe is the translation she'll be using for the Hawaiian word for patience, Aho Nui. So we'll have something very wonderful to look forward to next week as well. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend. What's left of it. Love you guys.
Mahalo nui loa, aloha, ahui ho.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye.